You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
He could get 10 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather. It's free. Don Hartley, Telsquare Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM hosts Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show for this Thursday, February 1, 2024. That's right. It's February 1st. Can you believe that? Already through January, into the second month of the year. Time really does fly. It's here and gone in a snap of the fingers, but it's a new month, and we're ready to go here on the show with a jam-packed show that I'm going to tell you all about in just a moment. As I said, I'm Gary Harris. I've got Justin Jones right there on the other side of the glass. He's manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the First and Main Condominiums hotline at 205-342-9904 in the first hour, Krispy Kreme Donuts hotline in the second hour, and so we are ready to go. This hour of the Gary Harris Show brought to you as always by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit, it's just a better way of banking. I encourage you to visit alabamacu.com to learn all about it. Convenience and savings make life better. The ACU Lifestyle account is available now. You can learn more at alabamacu.com. That's Alabama Credit Union. Loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, good show lined up for you today at 9:30 in studio. Darrell Furman, former University of Alabama linebacker under Ray Perkins and Bill Curry, and the president of Letterman of the USA, and just has done great work. And we've had him on the program before. He is going to be with us today as well, and talk about their annual 1 Yard at a Time Gala set for February 23rd in Birmingham. Major Ogilvie is the special guest this year, the former great running back for the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Mountain Brook Spartans. So Darrell Furman in studio today to discuss the 1 Yard at a Time Gala set for February 23rd. And, of course, what they're doing for veterans is unbelievable, and how much has been done. And we'll talk about how all this got started back following the tornado in February in 2011. And we'll discuss that with Darrell Furman coming up at 9:30. Then at 10 o'clock, I know Corey's going to be happy over in Trussville. He's been wanting some softball discussion. And Karen Johns, our softball analyst, will be in with us at 10 to preview the season, not just for Alabama, but for college softball. Of course, she, former pitching coach at the University of Alabama, former All-American catcher at South Carolina, former head coach at Florida, at Virginia, and she's been around, and now she's does some television work as a statistician and analyst for ESPN and different networks. So Karen Johns will be with us at 10 o'clock for softball. And then at 10:30, my pal Jeff Spiegel, sports anchor and host of The Zone at ABC 3340. Your phone calls, as I said, are welcome on the First and Main Condominiums hotline at 205-342-9904. Also, Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer made his Senior Bowl debut as the Crimson Tide head coach on Wednesday down there at the practice at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. And we've got his audio from his media session yesterday that we're going to be able to play for you as he took questions. And boy, it was a throng of media people there yesterday, of course, as you would expect. Hugh Freeze was also there, and Hugh Freeze, I should have sent you that clip. He talked about how he and Kalen DeBoer go way back to their days in NAIA, so they know each other well. Hugh Freeze was coaching at Lambeth, and of course, DeBoer was coaching at Sioux Falls. So interesting story there from the NAIA days with Kalen DeBoer and Hugh Freeze. So great show on tap for you today, and a lot going on in the sports world. And in fact, let's go ahead and start them off with some Thursday morning headlines here on the program. The Alabama men's basketball team went into last night's SEC road game against Georgia, leading the SEC with a 6-1 record. And I tell you what, Stegman Coliseum has been a tough place to play this year, and early on for Alabama, it was a nightmare. As no Nick Pringle, he's suspended again. Coach Oates said after the game he's going to have to make a decision on whether or not he wants to be a part of the program going forward. But Alabama fell down 17-2. 17-2. I mean, it was ugly, and you're thinking at that point, I mean, they're going to get run out of the Coliseum. But you know what? They got just obliterated on the backboard in the first half. I mean, it was unbelievable, the rebounding numbers. And they were, though, as bad as it looked early, they got it to 14 at half. Not great, down 41-27. But fortunately, there are two halves. And in the second half, Alabama showed what makes them a special team. I mean, they scored 58 second half points. Tied it up at 64, took a lead at 66-64. It went back and forth. 66-66. Sears hit a three to make it 69-66. Nelson had a three. They led the way. Sears had 23. Grant Nelson had 20. Then it was 76-73. Alabama with the ball, and Nelson hit the dagger. He hit a three to make it 79-73. Bama outscored Georgia 58-35 in the second half to win 85-76 was the final. And Nate Oates after the game just said, hey man, you got to win some games like this. You've got to win some games like this on the road in the SEC when you don't have your best. And Alabama didn't. But that shows you what this team's capable of again. Offensively, they can score. They'd score in spurts. I mean, I think they had, I want to say, I don't know, well over 30 points in the final 10 or 11 minutes of the game. I mean, and that's a huge win. Alabama now comes back home. They host Mississippi State on Saturday night. They move to 7-1 in the SEC. They lead the SEC outright as the solo leaders in the conference. Other finals last night, Florida. What about the Gators winning in overtime at Kentucky? That game was close all the way. It looked like Kentucky would win it in regulation. They were up 3 shooting a free throw. They missed the free throw, and Florida came down and hit a 3 to tie it, forced overtime, and Florida really controlled the overtime. They won it 94-91. Auburn, as expected, took care of Vanderbilt down at Neville Arena, 81-54 to snap a 2-game conference losing streak. They got to play Vanderbilt twice, which is already played them twice, which is a good break for Auburn. And then Arkansas kept Missouri winless. Arkansas picks up its second conference win on the road in Columbia, Missouri, 91-84. So those are your other SEC basketball scores from last night. As we mentioned, Kalen DeBoer at the Senior Bowl on Wednesday at practice, speaking to Alabama players. He also visited, obviously, with Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr., who he coached, and spoke with reporters. We'll have his comments for you coming up later on in the show. Hugh Freeze was there as well. The Senior Bowl is on Saturday down there at the University of South Alabama. Aaron Hodges has developed a reputation as a top figure in recruiting and personnel over the last several years, and he knows Kalen DeBoer. Hodges was at Purdue as the director of player personnel when DeBoer was the offensive coordinator at Indiana. Now the two will be working together in Tuscaloosa as DeBoer has hired Hodges away from TCU to become the director of player personnel for the University of Alabama. So this staff is really, really shaping up. And I like what I've seen from Kalen DeBoer in terms of hiring this staff. So that's a check on some headlines. It's 9/11. We're off and running here on the Gary Harris Show. And as I said, if you want to be a part of the program, the First and Main Condos hotline is open at 205-342-9904. And that's where Cowboy is going to lead us off this morning. Good morning, Cowboy.
Hey, Gary. How are you?
Doing well.
You talking about these Kalen DeBoer hires. But, it seems like everything he's hiring pretty much has an affiliation with him at his time at Indiana. And I don't remember Indiana winning the Big Ten or anything. I thought maybe he'd bring a little more of these Washington guys with him in the personnel departments because they did win the Pac-12 in Washington.
Well, he brought his general manager. We know he brought Courtney Morgan down from Washington to be the GM. I like the staff, Cowboy. I like the way it's been constructed and put together. And, I think that the staff here is going to be top notch. And he only spent the 1 year at Indiana, but coaching is about relationships, and you build relationships throughout your career. And I think that that's a lot of what we're seeing in this staff or relationships that he's built. But whether it be at Washington, Indiana, Fresno State, Sioux Falls, so I like this staff though. I really do.
We'll see how they do. That's all we can do. Let it play out. I wonder if Missouri hired the the defensive mind from South Alabama, that Kerry Batoon that they hired that be their DC. I guess we'll see how that plays out for Missouri.
Yeah,
they hired
like you said, that's the case with all these coaching hires, man. Whether it's a head coach, a coordinator, you do the best you can, but you never know for sure. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, and coaching now more than it's ever been is cyclical and year to year. We've seen coaches get hired and start fast and then fade, and we've seen coaches that were hired who started slow and then built momentum like a Harbaugh and finished it off. He's going to the NFL as a national champion. So there's no guarantees anytime you hire a coach anymore. But I think when you're having to replace Nick Saban, I thought Greg Byrne did a good job of targeting a guy and identifying who he wanted and making it happen in 48 hours. And I've been impressed with what I've seen from Kalen DeBoer. Like you said, the proof is always in the pudding. It's going to be, he's a very popular guy right now, and he'll be popular until he loses a game. And as soon as he loses a game, then all of the scrutiny and all of the question marks are going to be brought up. So, but, the good news is he doesn't have to worry about that for about 8 months.
There you go. Hey, kind of on to something what I mainly called about was I heard some guy talking to, not the guy you had on from Knoxville, but another Tennessee guy. And the agent that Nico Amavela's marketing, Spire Marketing, that he signed up with in February of 2022. If you go back and look at the recruiting of Nico Amavela, there was talk on Tider Insider web pages and stuff of the Rodney Orr's website that Nico Amavela in late February was pretty much close to committing to Alabama, and then the Spire agency became his marketing arm, which they're an agent and a marketing firm. Some of their top clients, Albert Heinz, Eric Berry. Okay, you get where I'm going here, Gary?
Yeah, you broke up on me, but I did hear you mention Eric Berry. So he's with Spire Marketing,
right? And Albert Hainsworth,
both former Tennessee great players. Yeah, okay,
right. and the owner of Spire, the agent, is a Tennessee alumnus, and his plane flew Nico Amavela and the family, since he's his marketing arm, to Knoxville for the visit. And this guy was asked on a radio show in Alabama, another station, about all this, and the Spire guy is also part of the Tennessee Collective. And, they're going to lawyer up and they're going to challenge the NCAA and all that kind of stuff. But there's no doubt that they bought Nico Amavela. And, the NIL and all that, whether you can prove it or not, he was paid to go to Tennessee to play. I mean, there's just no way around it. And they may skate from it because of the rules. But
listen,
they know what they did.
But they weren't the only ones, and that's kind of the pickle.
That's right.
Is that there could be more of this coming? I think there's going to be other schools because listen, I said it, and you remember this, Cowboy. You've been listening to the show for a lot of years. I'm not saying I was the only one at all, but I never bought into this pie in the sky. Oh, this is going to be great. Players can benefit from jersey sales and video imaging. Listen, I knew what this was going to be. And the whole thing with name, image, and likeness was, it was supposed to benefit the players on your roster. Okay? It was name, image, and likeness was supposed to benefit players on your roster who were already there that had opportunities through name, image, and likeness. It was not supposed to be a recruiting slush fund. And that's where these collectives were created immediately to start paying players to come to schools. That's not what it was supposed to be. Yet it was just put together, and Tennessee's not the only one. And I think you're going to see other schools that the NCAA winds up investigating.
They said there's going to be more investigations coming in the next week or two.
Yeah, but because the minute that this was allowed, it got it just morphed immediately into let's go buy players. And, now I hear some people saying, some of these sports business analysts saying, well, there's no way you could have foreseen the NIL would become this. Yeah, you could have. If you live in the real world and you know what money is about, you could have seen this. And I think the minute NIL was put into place, a lot of these big boosters at these schools said, hey, let's form these collectives, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. And we can just start, we can become super competitive immediately by, paying top dollars. And we've already seen disasters with the quarterback at Florida who got, all that money and then didn't get paid. And so, yeah, there's more of this to come. But what I'm hoping, Cowboy, is as we continue to talk about, some structure, maybe if nothing else, this will lead to somehow, some way, some rules put in place that will govern NIL and what it, is supposed to look like. And maybe it'll at least, be more, the way it was designed to be instead of let's just go out and buy players. So, maybe that'll slow it down a little bit. Maybe these collectives now will say, hey, man, we have to be careful how we operate. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of people that feel like, as you said, Tennessee's going to lawyer up. The chancellor has already come out, Plowman, and made this incredible scathing statement against the NCAA. They're going to battle it. And if nothing comes of this, then, we may truly have the wild, wild west. Say what you want about the NCAA, and I get it. They're a popular whipping boy, but at least they're still there. At least they're still, in theory, an organization that governs collegiate athletics that keeps people from just strictly making this unrestricted free agency and you just pay as much money as you can. If that's gone, then I don't know what we're going to do. There'll be so much money changing hands. There'll be no rules unless, again, at some point, maybe college football, maybe college men's basketball breaks away and, is governed differently than the other sports, because I know there are a lot of people that tell you the NCAA's only real job is to put on all of these postseason playoffs and tournaments for, all the sports other than football. And they do that. And that is an important aspect of what they do. So maybe football just has to have its own governing body and its own system. Maybe that's what we'll see come out of this. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, this is what happens when you turn college football or college athletics over to the Ed O'Bannons and the Johnny Manziel type. That's what this has all come about from. And I knew this was going to be a problem when they started allowing it. You did too. But, we didn't necessarily think that they were just going to obviously buy players. But to me, it's not professional football. And when Commissioner Sankey gets up there and calls these guys student athletes, that's the biggest hogwash I've ever seen in my life. They're paid players. They're not student athletes. We're not talking about APRs or any of that stuff anymore to be eligible and all that. They just went down the rabbit hole of just, this is just insane.
Yeah, genie's out of the bottle, and like I said, it's going to be hard to put the genie back in the bottle now. You're right. This is, the academic part of this, again, you don't even hardly ever hear about a player being ineligible anymore, no matter how many schools they move from and what their status is on the calendar. They seem to be able to just leave a school and go to another school and to be academically eligible or sit out and train. Again, I talked about the basketball player Nick Smith at Arkansas last year, spent 6 weeks out in Los Angeles training on his own. And I'm sure they said he did, online classes, but he comes back to Fayetteville and just comes back in and starts playing immediately. It's a weird deal. Hey, I got to hit the break, Cowboy. Great stuff, man.
Will be eligible, or you think the NCAA will try to rule it ineligible?
I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. Really, I have no idea how this is going to play out. But my guess is, based on recent history with the NCAA, that Nico Iamaleava will be the quarterback at Tennessee this year. That'd be my guess, but we'll see.
I guess I got a little burr up my saddle about this deal because I always thought we would have gotten Iamaleava if Tennessee wouldn't have bought him.
Well, maybe so. All right, got to go, Cowboy. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, 9:22, we'll get to the break, and we'll come back and have a short segment, and then we'll be back with Darrell Furman here in studio from Letterman of the USA. This is the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
This season of Alabama football on Tide 100.9, brought to you by Birmingham Racecourse Casino. Just a few minutes away, where you can be a winner too. From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports, and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. On Monday's edition of Hey Coach, presented by Alpha Insurance, we were joined at Baumhower's Victory Grill by Crimson Tide freshman Jaron Stevenson.
Yeah, just watching last year, Brandon Miller, Noah Clowney, the type of offense they run, fast, just, nonstop. I like that type of play, that type of basketball. I like the just different things they run, defensive sets. So just watching them play, I love watching them play. So that really brought me here to Alabama.
Is it a coincidence that you wear number 15? Because you sure do look a lot like Clowney did last year. There's times I look up and I start to call you Noah, and then realize, no, that's this year. This is Jared. So I mean, there's a lot of similarities, aren't there?
Yeah. Clowney was a monster on the court, and that's what I intend to do, and I intend to keep on doing. There's still some things I got to work on, but Clowney is definitely a good comparison.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Join us tonight for Crimson Tide women's basketball at Arkansas. Tip-off from Fayetteville is set for 8 p.m. Central with our coverage on the network.
Every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A nice warm up today with a sunny sky. The high at 60. Mostly clear tonight, the low 38. Then very pleasant weather tomorrow and Saturday. The sky partly to mostly sunny both days. Highs in the mid to upper 60s between 65 and 68. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 42 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 9:26. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. Coming up a little bit later on in the show, Kalen DeBoer talks with reporters at the Senior Bowl practices on Wednesday. We'll have that audio for you. And in the next segment, Daryl Furman from Letterman in the USA is in studio to talk about the big gala coming up later on this month at the club over in Birmingham featuring Major Ogilvy. So can't wait for that. Well, I got a couple of minutes here before we have to get to the next break. I do want to again talk more about Bama basketball because last night, as I said, when you're on the road and you get shell-shocked like they did and you're down 17-2, even though there's a ton of basketball left, they were still down 14 at the break. They were still down double digits almost midway through the half. To be able to come back and not only win the game, but wind up kind of winning the game, going away a little bit. 58 points in the second half to win it 85-76. That's impressive. I'm telling you, that shows you what this Alabama team is capable of. Again, without Nick Pringle, that's one of their bigs, and they're already a little bit short in terms of size on the inside. I hope it works out, whatever the issues are with him in regards to the team. But Coach Oates was pretty matter of fact after the game last night saying, he's going to have to make a decision, meaning Pringle, as to whether or not he wants to be a part of the program going forward. I hope that he will. None of this is out. There's no off the court issues. This is strictly based on his attitude and his situation with the team on the floor. I think it probably, if you follow sports, more times than not, it has to do with playing time. It has to do with coming back, expecting to be a starter, starting the season as a starter, thinking you're going to be one of the key guys, and then that changes a little bit, and he has not handled it well. And, so right now, as we sit here this morning, I think his status going forward on this team is up in the air. I do think because it's, he's been suspended twice now. He didn't make the trip to Athens. You got a game coming up Saturday night at home against LSU. I feel like we're going to find out something pretty quickly on Nick Pringle. We'll probably know Saturday night. If he's back with the team playing in the game, then you can look at it and say that everything's going to be fine. If he's not, then obviously, that's going to be a situation that, he may not be part of this team. So we will see. All right, 9:29 here on the program. We're going to get to the break and come back in studio. Darrell Furman, former Alabama linebacker under Ray Perkins and Bill Curry. And now going back to the April 27, 2011 tornado. This is where all this kind of stemmed from. So we'll revisit that and how that Letterman of the USA got started, and now how it is evolved into a organization that helps our veterans in a way that not many organizations around the country are doing, and plans for the future. And of course, the big gala coming up later on this month. That's next here on the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports. As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special.
Get go. If you want to pay more, that's your business. If you want to save, that's our business. Tuscaloosa Hyundai, corner of Skyland and Hargrove, TuscaloosaHyundai.com.
Tide 100.9. For more coverage of Alabama football, visit us at Tide100.9.com or download the free Tide 100.9 app.
The Crimson Tide will not be denied.
All right, 9:32, 28 minutes in front of the hour of 10 o'clock. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. Gary Harris, Justin Jones, and joined in studio now by Darrell Furman is your title president of Letterman of the USA, or CEO, or what is your title, Darrell?
Chief bottle washer.
He's the chief, I'll tell you that. But Letterman of the USA, fantastic organization. Darrell Furman, the former Crimson Tide linebacker, known as the Bull back in his playing days. I think Cornelius Bennett tagged him with that. We'll get into that story in a little bit. But from Gadsden, Alabama, walked on at the University of Alabama as a linebacker under Ray Perkins and Bill Curry, and a successful business career. And so let's track back, because there'll be a lot of people listening this morning that have not heard of Letterman of the USA, don't know how it came about. So let's go back to the beginning. After the devastating April 27th, 2011 tornadoes, I think you were one of the main principals in organizing that flag football game between former Alabama and Auburn players for tornado relief. Isn't that kind of
that is correct? I tell you, I was a high school coach in Atlanta, and I got a message the day of the tornado during winter spring practice, and I was working with the defensive. I was working with the defense over in Georgia that I was coaching, high school where I was coaching, and it said that there was a tornado on the ground, Tuscaloosa, and was headed to Birmingham, was leaving a debris field 10 miles wide. This is unbelievable. And so I got a phone call, or I got on the phone that night with A-Club Brothers. I also talked to my brother who lives here in Tuscaloosa, had some property over here off of 15th. I'm trying to think of the area, but it was just a devastating phone call. Shannon Brown's daughter was missing at the time. And anyway, I made a decision that night, and it was probably it was one of the hardest decisions I made, because football was, like a lot of us, is our love. But I decided that I was going to go home, and because Tuscaloosa is what I always say is the capstone's where I became a man. I grew up on that football field, and it was all hands on deck as far as I was concerned. And so I essentially resigned from coaching a few days later, but I resigned from coaching and came over here and got involved in the relief effort. And I don't think I looked back after that, and was able to, as you said, get a bunch of former Alabama and Auburn players and coaches to come together, about 200 of us, and we played a flag game up in Spain Park High School. Now, 12 years ago, and August 13th, 2011. And we've been going ever since.
Yeah.
The Letterman organization was founded in December of 2011.
And it just kept going. And like you said, it really, when did a big part of it become benefiting the veterans? How did that evolve?
Originally we started out working with Firehouse in Birmingham, which is a homeless shelter. And what we realized is the veterans, there were a lot of veterans within the Firehouse shelter organization that they were ministering to. And we thought that was an area where we could make an impact. And since we are a social impact organization, that was one of the things that the early days is we thought that would be our niche. And so what you have now, Gary, is you have an organization that was founded to raise money for veterans, and it just happens to be that the founders are former collegiate athletes and coaches. Nothing like it that we know of in the entire country exists. Mm-hmm. It's only here in central Alabama that this organization exists. And, since our inception, we have impacted over 1,300 veterans and their families' lives. We've given over 515 to 20 autographed footballs to veterans through our Autographs for Heroes program. We've given countless, what went through our Wheels for Heroes program, we've given countless wheelchairs. We've made major impact in the veterans community, especially in the homeless community, with a fastest growing program, Interiors for Heroes, which is headed by Susan Cormany, Northport girl, that runs that, our project coordinator. And we've, with our Laptops for Heroes, we've impacted Gold Star children and lost their moms and dads in combat. And we have a lot of exciting new programs. We have Utilities for Heroes, which allows us, this economy the way it is, a lot of veterans and families choose between eating, rent, or utilities. And so we have a program, especially for veterans with PTSD. We have a program called Utilities for Heroes, and we'll come in and we'll pay their power bill.
Wow.
We'll go into the portal with Alabama Power. We work directly with Alabama Power now, and we've also received some grant money from them through the ABC Trust Foundation to do this. And so we've got a lot, and then we've got Food for Heroes. We just launched Turkey for Heroes through the Food for Heroes program back in Thanksgiving. We did about 35 veterans who were basically, they're homeless, but they're not homeless anymore. They have a dwelling and they have a place through our Interiors for Heroes program. And we hope this coming year we will do 300 instead of 35 since it was so successful. And then we have a Rent for Heroes is also another program we have. And then what I always talk about, there's always what it's called, depending if you're a Shakespeare fan or a Star Trek fan, is the undiscovered country. And the undiscovered country for us, we always wanted since our inception to have a 50-yard line house that would be able to help homeless. We have some athletes that played in the Iron Bowl that went homeless. I think you know what I'm referring to there. And we always wanted to have something that could make a major impact. So I'll just tell you, this is going to be the main, I guess, the main focus of the organization moving forward after this gala is to build about 120 tiny home village for homeless veterans in the Birmingham, Alabama area. Be north of Birmingham, 22 miles right now from the VA and about 15 minutes from the mental health facility. And so you can see from this ticket right here we've got for the gala, we've got Harbert Management Corporation and we've got Web Concrete. And we got a whole lot of other folks that are construction related that are going to help us accomplish this goal in the future.
Well, it's coming up February 23rd, 6 to 10 p.m. at the club there in Birmingham. The 1 Yard at a Time Gala, annual fundraiser, and live auction. Athletic honoree is Major Ogilvie, of course, the former great Mountain Brook and Alabama running back under Coach Bryant, national champion. And the military honoree is Sergeant Kirk Stafford from the U.S. Army, retired. So this event, and as you said, there's a lot of work you do in the year, but this is kind of the culmination of all that. This gala,
is a showcase.
Yeah.
This is where we showcase what we do, what we've accomplished in the year. And it's a night of patriotism. It's a night of to celebrate, to meet some great athletes, to meet someone like Chris Moore is going to be there. Chris played with Biscuit at the Bills, and played with us at Alabama, and he's going to be there. Just found out that we're also going to probably have Big Al too. So that's a big deal with Major, of course. And we've also got a guy that is we call him the flag guy. He goes to events, especially having to do with veterans, and he just posts with the flag, and either in the front of wherever the event is taking place, he's coming. My teammate Danny Smith that played for with us at Alabama is a punter. He's going to be singing the national anthem that night. We'll have the University of Alabama ROTC Air Force Color Guard presenting the colors that night. So it's going to be every year rolls back between Alabama and UAB, and it's Alabama's year, and we're going to have a big Crimson Tide year. That's for sure.
Yeah, it does rotate back and forth between Alabama and Auburn, and this is Alabama year, something special. And we'll have more time to get into this, but since we're hitting on it right now before we have to hit this next break, and we're going to have you back for another segment, I know people can purchase their tickets online, right?
That's correct. LOTUSA.org. Just LOTUSA.org.
Yeah, it's going to be something special. All right, before we go to the break, and we'll come back with another segment to continue to talk about all the work that you're doing. I promise people that are listening how you got the nickname. Of course, now I'd call you a bulldog because of the way you dive into projects full speed ahead. But how did was it Cornelius Bennett that tagged you with the nickname the Bull back in your Alabama playing days?
That's a great question, and it allows me to segue into the fact that the gala that we do in February is to commemorate the anniversary of Derek Thomas's passing, and also the organization getting its nonprofit status in 2018.
So it might have been DT.
It was DT.
That got you the nickname.
It was DT. It sure was, Derek Thomas.
And that was just a tribute to you for how hard you played and how you got after people.
That was a crazy day. It was in Alabama. When you first get there, they put a piece of white tape in the day. They write Furman across it, and you didn't know if they always told you. Woody Meadows always said if they pulled that tape at any time, it was shower time, and you were done. Your college career was over with. So, that was during those days, and so we were. I was on the scout team with a guy named Seth Moultz and David Palmer and a whole bunch of other John. It wasn't John Magnum, but it was. I'm trying to think. But anyway, I was on the scout team with a bunch of guys. There's hard-hitting guys. And, we were up against the first team offense with David Gilmer and Wes Neighbors, and I think it was Bill Condon. And it got pretty heated. And, I don't know, for whatever reason, we had these plays that Coach Henshaw would have Coach Jerry Pullen call, and one of them was Cowboy Whip Plug. And it just meant that the Mike linebacker, who was kind of like the quarterback of the defense, I guess, at the time, would basically submarine into the guard center gap. Well, that guard center gap had Wes Neighbors and a guy named David Gilmer there.
Really nice offensive linemen.
Two big dudes, right? And my name as a freshman got called up on that deal, and I guess the rest is history. It wasn't the fact that it was one; it was two after another, and the final one caused a big old blow up in the backfield of the ball getting knocked out. And Derek Thomas was walking for some reason down the sidelines from where the first team defense was actually practicing with the scout team offense, and he said, and I don't know if I can say this on the air, but he said, "Damn Bull." And the name stuck. Clay Whitehurst told me that night at Harry's Bar, he said, "I don't know if you know this, Bull, we're going to tattoo that on your tomb, brother."
And it stuck, and you earned it because you didn't back down against those two big powerful veteran offensive lineman. Man, that's a testament to you. Derek Thomas tagged you as the Bull. All right, it's 9:44. We're going to get to our break, but I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to bring Daryl back for one more segment in the studio and talking about Letterman of the USA, the great organization, what all they do, the 1 yard at a time gala that's coming up at the club on February 23rd, but also future plans for Letterman of the USA as Daryl.
We're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Visit PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representations made that legal services provided by Patterson Comer is greater than any other legal services performed by any other lawyer.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
At guarantee. Text support to 511-511. Morning Kick. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A nice warm up today with a sunny sky. The high at 60. Mostly clear tonight, the low 38. Then very pleasant weather tomorrow and Saturday. The sky partly to mostly sunny both days. Highs in the mid to upper 60s between 65 and 68. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 42 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:48. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. This hour being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, and we got Tommy and Romulus on hold. Tommy, we're going to get to you. We got a few more minutes with my friend Daryl Furman from Letterman of the USA and the big 2024 1 yard at a time gala coming up on February 23rd at the club in Birmingham. Athletic honoree Major Ogilvie, former University of Alabama outstanding running back, national champion, and the military honoree will be Kirk Stafford, U.S. Army retired. So, all right, Daryl, let's continue our conversation. We got a little football in about how DT nicknamed you the Bull, but let's get back to this Letterman of the USA and going forward. As we said, this thing kind of came after the tornado, and the next thing you know, you're helping people, and now the plans are huge. I mean, you told me just briefly in a text message that you're going to work talking about an entire village that you're building. What's that about?
Well, it's north of Birmingham. It's property up probably it's about 15 minutes from what's called the mental health facility for the VA. It's a new facility they just built in Irondale, and it's probably about 22 miles from downtown VA. It's about 44 acres. It'll have hopefully 120 tiny homes. We're hoping also to be cut-of-the-edge technology. I'll just say this, that I'm going to hopefully be going to Austin, Texas to meet with the Icon folks. They've invited me to come out there, something they've got an open house. And what Icon does is they've won the moon contract to build a moon base with 3D printer. And they can build 2 of these houses that we're talking about, these tiny houses, within 24 hours.
Wow.
And the walls, and this is where you get folks really interested because of the cutting edge technology. I'm talking about corporations. The walls can stand up, I think, 220 mile hour winds, which makes them tornado proof.
Yeah.
So, we're hoping to be able to do that. And like I said, it'll be about 120 tiny homes. It'll also have hopefully an educational center, a chapel. And then I know we won't be able to get probably the World War II veterans, but for the Korean War veterans and the Vietnam veterans who need an assisted care facility, we're hoping that can be built in the back.
And that's amazing. And just, all right, we've got a couple more minutes here, and then we'll get to Tommy and Romulus on the phone. But if people want to, obviously we're promoting the gala coming up, 1 yard at a time gala, but if people just want to get involved or find out more, maybe volunteer in some of the things that you have going on, how do they do that?
LOTUSA.org. Just go to LOTUSA.org. Of course, we're on all the social media platforms, including some of the newer ones, the True Social. We're on Getter. You can also find us on, of course, Facebook and Instagram. You and I, we're on Twitter or X, and we're on that as well. Mm-hmm. So, we're covering on all the platforms.
Yeah, folks, again, support Letterman of the USA and get your tickets now for the 1 Yard at a Time Gala coming up on February 23rd, 6 to 10 p.m. at the club in Birmingham. Dinner and cocktails, live and silent auctions. Just a great night of fellowship. It is going to be special. Getting back to football here before we close it out. We've all lived through the Nick Saban dynasty, but now it's transition. And, boy, a lot's changed in the last couple of years in college football with NIL and the portal. Kalen DeBoer's coming in here. Just your feeling on Alabama football going forward, and can DeBoer keep it going? Well,
Alabama football is in itself an institution. It's a brand. And, for me, to have just had the opportunity to wear the crimson jersey, it could have just been one time, and that would have been a lifelong dream for me. So to have been able to have been a part of, I know we call it the rebuilding years now, my teammates and I do, but we had some great teams too.
That's true.
86, not, everything horseshoes, you would call it some things horseshoes, but 86 was very close. It could have been a national championship.
Absolutely.
Easily. And had Penn State not happened the way it had at Bryant-Denny, that was probably the one that broke the team's back. If that hadn't happened, I think we would have won the national championship.
And still should have beaten LSU and Auburn that year.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. 110 as it was, and then even those days, coaches could be gone in a snap of the fingers. And I went through that, and that's these guys that are seniors right now. That's a tough thing to do. Transition. It's tough.
It is.
Well, Daryl, man, I appreciate it. And hold tight here. Let me get to Tommy and Romulus, and then we'll close out the segment and get you out of here. But I do want to get Tommy on here before he's been on hold. Let's jump out on the First and Main Condos hotline. Tommy is with us. Good morning, Tommy.
Hey, Gary. How are y'all?
Doing well.
I think I do a great job promoting what former Alabama football players have done in that organization. I wish we could hear more stuff about it.
Well, thank you.
Well, yesterday I got on Ron about something. We were talking about naming this, naming that. And I said, there's another person we should have something named after at the university. And I said, Sarah Patterson. And I made a comment, I don't care if you put her name on the Coliseum, because what she did for the university in gymnastics and for breast cancer awareness. She have done a lot of work for the community. And I would just love to see more of Alabama positives.
Well, she has got. Let me say this to you, Tommy. The Sarah Patterson Champions Plaza is named in her honor, and it's right outside of Sewell Thomas Stadium. It's a little area where they have marble slabs highlighting all of the championships. So I'm with you on her contributions and 6 national titles and what she's done for the community. So, but in case you weren't aware of it, they do have that Sarah Patterson Champions Plaza there on the university campus, right outside of the right field area of Sewell Thomas Stadium, across from the Malmore Athletic Complex. So just so you'll know that, so you can pay it a visit next time you're by, because you're right, she did a lot for the University of Alabama.
Oh, I have, because I go to all of them.
Okay, you've seen it then, so yeah.
I've seen it. It's amazing. It's an honor, but she's not that type of person who won't glory, but it'd just be nice that you can see her name up there. There's other things, or have a statue out there, because not mean the student can say we had 3 coaches that won 6 national championships in sports. And
That's
I
right.
just, and you should be, I'm proud of it. Trust me, I'm proud of the work that Coach Bryant done for his former players, and Nick Saban, Sarah. I am just blessed to be born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I hate to say that. People say, what's in Tuscaloosa? I say everything.
Tommy, you're a good fan. We do know that. Hey, good to hear from you this morning, my friend.
Man. Y'all take care.
Thank you. Tommy and Romulus closes us out about another minute before we have to hit the break. Again, I want to thank Daryl Furman. And I know between now and the gala, you're going to be going nonstop. Like in this morning, you're going to be doing media and promotional appearances. We got to still get something lined up with the TV station, all the TV stations and radio stations in Birmingham. So I guess between now and then, you're going to be going nonstop.
Yeah, this is where Elaine Lyda kicks in. She's our PR lady.
Great job.
She does an amazing work for us. I always say this: Yvonne Pope and Elaine Lyda, they wouldn't be a Letterman USA. Yvonne does all the basically event planning, anything kind of events we do, and Elaine does all the PR, and that's like 60 years of experience.
Yeah,
it's just incredible, and it's like being surrounded by angels. Is what it's like.
Well, it's awesome what y'all have done and what you continue to do and what you're going to do. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this hour of the Gary Harris Show. We appreciate Darrell Furman being in studio with us. It's been brought to you this hour by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Find out more at alabamacu.com. All right, we're going to roll it over, and we'll start off the second hour talking softball with Karen Johns. Also, Jeff Spiegel will join us. More of your phone calls. We'll hear from Kalen DeBoer as he met with reporters at the Senior Bowl. So another big hour is on the way. The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
This exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour specials. And for the best Mexican cuisine in West Alabama, remember, the name is Los Tarascos with locations in Tuscaloosa and Northport.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Kevin Wire.
NBA action on Wednesday night saw the Thunder take down the Nuggets 105-100. However, Nikola Jokic did not play for Denver last night. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander led the way for Oklahoma City with 34 points. Timberwolves demolished the Mavericks 121-87 as Minnesota tops in the Western Conference at 34-14, a game ahead of the Thunder and a game and a half up on the Nuggets. Damian Lillard made his much-anticipated return to Portland on Wednesday night. However, the Bucks did lose to the Trailblazers 119-115. Lillard finished the game with 25 points. Milwaukee, for their part, now 0-2 since hiring Doc Rivers. Kevin Durant making his return to Brooklyn with the Suns. They beat the Nets 119-115 as Durant had 33 points. Couple of upsets in college hoops. Number 10, Kentucky losing to Florida 94-91. Number 19, New Mexico falling to Boise State 86-78.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
According to Alabama Commerce Secretary Ellen McNair, if Mercedes and other state automaker employees are allowed to unionize, it could be the end of industrial growth in the state. 49-year-old Bert Eugene Neff of Indianapolis has been charged with obstructing the federal grand jury investigation into the 2023 baseball gambling scheme that cost Alabama baseball coach Brad Bohannon his job. In sports, former Crimson Tide golfer Nick Dunlap makes his professional debut today in the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Here we go, hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show for this Thursday, February 1, 2024. This hour of the program is being brought to you by my friends Paul Patterson and Mike Comer at Patterson Comer Attorneys at Law. When it comes to personal injury attorneys, I don't know about you. Well, I hope you agree with me. Yeah, I want someone local. I want someone with feet on the ground. I want a law firm that's about integrity and has principles, and that is Patterson Comer, folks. I can tell you, I know for a fact, because they helped me out with issues in the past, and I have 100% confidence in Paul Patterson and Mike Comer at Patterson Comer Attorneys at Law. The commitment to serve our clients does not stop at the end of the workday. We're available 7 days a week. Call Paul Patterson in Tuscaloosa at 205-345-1000 or Mike Comer in Northport at 205-759-3939. And remember, Patterson Comer Law Firm is all about you. They work on contingency. In other words, if they take your case, there's never a dime out of your pocket unless they collect for you. And that could go all the way through the process and even into the courtroom. One of them will be with you if needed. PattersonComerLawFirm.com.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of services performed by other lawyers.
All right, we're going to dive right back into the show. Busy first hour. We appreciate Daryl Furman from Letterman and the USA being in studio with us. But I had a lot of people talking about softball. We're going to get Murph on. But our softball analyst, Karen Johns, was working last night down at Neville Arena for the Auburn Vanderbilt basketball game, but drove back and graciously agreed to be on with us this morning to kind of kick off our softball coverage for 2024. The former Alabama pitching coach, head coach at Florida, Virginia, All-American catcher at South Carolina, on and on and on. And now does, like I said, a lot of TV work, analysis and stats, and joins us to talk softball. Good morning, Karen. How are you?
Good morning, Gary. Good to talk to you.
Good to have you on, and it's just about here. We'll be cranking it up, and boy, the sport has just it's always been fun. It's always been enjoyable, but the boom that we've had in just the last several years is amazing. The TV ratings, and I'm not talking about just with the Women's College World Series. I'm talking about coverage throughout the year, the fan support. We've had it here in Tuscaloosa for a long time, but you go to these games anywhere on these college campuses, it's a happening. It's really a great time for college softball.
It really is, and it's so good that ESPN is going to give you 76 just SEC softball games this season on their network, with between ESPN, ESPN2, the U, and obviously the SEC network. So yes, and that is the key, is being on TV, letting people see the sport, just how exciting it is. And, at some point in time, where we're heading with all of sports, it's going to have to be able to probably stand on its own at some point in time. And revenue through TV is obviously the driving force. So it's so important that this sport stay relevant in television. And, of course, people love it. They keep coming back for more.
All right, let's talk about just kind of an overview of the season. The ESPN.com USA Softball Top 25 preseason poll was released about a week ago, and we're going to start right where we finished. No surprise here. Oklahoma got all 25 first-place votes. So, Petty Gasso has built a dynasty. There's no other way around it. I mean, you could argue right now that Oklahoma is the most dominant program in any sport in the NCAA right now with what she's done. And, they're the team to beat again. And I don't think that that's just on paper. I think when you look at what Oklahoma's got, they truly are the favorite going into the season.
Yeah, they really are. They have so much depth. They have such a big senior class that has been there time and time again. The senior class does not know what it's like to go to the College World Series and not win. So, they really are. There's a few other teams out there that are looking for the four-peat this year. Oklahoma softball being one of them. North Carolina State women's cross country is looking for this fall, this coming fall. But it's really hard to do. There's only been one team that has done it in baseball, and winning, a four-peat, and that's the University of Southern California back in the day when they had those, big-time teams and stuff. I think they won 5 in a row. But no one else in baseball has done it either. Nobody else in baseball has even won more than 2 in a row. So it's so difficult to do because of the pitching component of the sport. And for them to do it 3 years in a row is just unbelievable. And, I think non-portal days, it probably was a lot harder to do that because the portal does allow you to bring in experienced people in the circle. And they have benefited from that, no question about it. They have also lost their best pitcher to the portal, so they know what that feels like too. So, definitely the team to beat. It's not, there's no debating that. It's just the fact.
You look at the SEC, Tennessee's at 2, Georgia's at 6. You've got Arkansas at 12, and then you see Alabama at 14. Not bad, but not in the top 10 preseason. Not where we're accustomed to seeing Alabama. And But maybe that's not all bad. You're lurking. If you get off to a hot start, you can make a move. But you go into the season not as one of the favorites to win the College World Series, not as one of the favorites to win the SEC. So you get to be the hunter a little bit. At least that's the angle that I'm taking. What about you?
Well, I think the brand itself will always be somewhat of the one being hunted. I don't think you can avoid that because it's Alabama. Alabama with Patrick Murphy, 14 times the Women's College World Series. So I think you're always going to be the big draw, right? You're always going to be the name. But I think the biggest thing for Bama, I think they were, sixth in the SEC also preseason, is really just a little bit of the unknown as far as the circle and behind the dish. And so when your battery, you're not really sure what to maybe expect out of all of that. I know that there's some pieces. We know what Jayla Torrance did at the end of that season. Mm-hmm. She is the reason why they made it to the College World Series. Okay, so now everybody knows you. Everybody has film on you. Everybody has data on you. So now it's, okay, what did we do in the off season to bring some more ingredients to the cook, bring it in and make it work for them. And of course, they really benefited in that area. They had two big transfers. They had Caleb Beavers, graduate transfer from Central Arkansas, who's really, really good. And then Riley Valentine, a sophomore catcher from Texas A&M. So they have those pieces. They're new together. I came down and watched some fall softball. I thought they did a really nice job working together as a battery, a small window of work, but I did get to witness that personally. And so I think really the preseason rankings in the SEC is kind of interesting this year because Tennessee has everybody back, but Ashley Rogers. Okay, so there's the big but all the time. When you lose your ace, Montana Fouts, there's some big names that are not in this conference anymore, and there's some big name teams who are going in a little bit with the unknown. Florida, young in the circle. Alabama, young in the circle, not that big time experience. So, you have those situations. Tennessee, every starter is back except for the pitcher in the circle. So, they're the favorite right now in the SEC because of that. But there's some really good young arms on these teams. So it's going to be really exciting to watch. I think the team for me that I think is going, that I'm watching closely is Georgia. Georgia's another team that's bringing back a ton of talent. They're returning 98% of their hits and 98% of their pitching, which is huge. And they had a very nice season last year, and they did very well in the Porto. They got a lefty, Lily Backus, a transfer from North Carolina. The kid is legit. She's a bulldog. She's a fiery pitcher. She's got great movement, great off-speed pitch. And then the question mark for me for Georgia for the last 5 years has been behind the plate. I've never seen a team win a national title without an elite catcher. It just hasn't happened. You can go back and keep looking and keep looking and keep looking, and it has not happened. And they have got themselves a sophomore transfer in Sarah Gordon from Louisville. Very legit. She was the National Freshman of the Year in 2023. She was the ACC Freshman of the Year. She was first-team catcher as a freshman. She is so good, and that is a huge piece to their puzzle. So I'm really excited to watch a lot of these teams and see how their pitchers perform.
Karen Johns is with us, softball analyst, breaking down the 2024 season in a preview. I said it's closing in fast. In fact, a week from today, Alabama will open the season in the Buzz Classic over in Atlanta with Villanova, Longwood, and Georgia Tech. And what do you think of that tournament field and Alabama opening up on the road?
Well, I think opening up on the road is probably a really good thing for Alabama. I think that I think it's good for them to go out there and get your feet wet. You got some new people in the circle. You got a new catcher. And I don't think it's a bad idea. I think sometimes, you know how Rose House is, the comfort of that stadium sometimes, right? It's like, hey, we can do this. And I think that tournament offers, Georgia Tech always has good position players, always has some good sluggers. Longwood's always had good bats. Villanova is just a sound team. They're not one of the top 25 teams, but they're a sound team. And I think there's a good challenge there for them. They just can't roll out the softball and win that weekend. And I think that's really beneficial for them. And I love the fact that he's taking them on the road. I think it's a great idea. And then they come back home and, they play in the Eastern Bama Bash that following weekend. And, I don't see a significant challenge there in that tournament, but they have some coming up, so it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, Eastern Bama Bash beginning Friday, February 16th with St. Thomas, Virginia, and Southern Indiana. Nationally, of course, the focus that same weekend is going to be on the big event down in Clearwater, the Shriners Children's Clearwater Invitational, which has become the event. Alabama's not in it this year, but Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Kentucky, LSU, Minnesota, North Carolina, Northwestern, Oklahoma State, Stanford, Tennessee, Texas, UCF, UCLA, Washington, and Wisconsin are in this field. What an event, and something that, you have the Women's College World Series, but in essence, this is almost like a not preseason, but early season Women's College World Series with twice as many teams.
Yeah, I've worked this event every year since they've had it, and it is very much a postseason feel to it. It's incredible because the crowds are so big. The weather we've been blessed with good weather, warm. People are excited about softball. Players are excited about playing, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, I look at the matchups that I'm preparing for. Stanford, Florida State. I have Georgia, Florida State. We have UCLA and Tennessee. I mean, just think about those matchups. These are Florida State, Tennessee on Sunday night. I mean, it's just incredible. And the beauty, too, this year, that opening weekend, Gary, I'm flying out to Los Angeles. I work the Bama-Auburn basketball game next Wednesday night down in the jungle. And that Thursday morning, I fly out to Los Angeles. And on Friday night, this is unheard of. We are going to be on ESPN, prime time, 8 o'clock, and we are going to have UCLA, Texas on TV, opening weekend, first day of the season. And then on Sunday, we'll follow that up with UCLA, Oklahoma State, another College World Series participant. So it's just games. Man, these are some big matchups, and I just cannot wait.
Phenomenal. Hey, we had a caller call in and leave a question for you with Alabama, of course. Allison Habits, Allie, retiring after 25 years to go, be with her mom down in Louisiana, who's having some health issues, and you've got Kayla Breaux coming in. The staff overall is changed up a lot in the last couple of years. The question is, with the shakeup of the staff and addition of new coaches, could Alabama softball see a philosophical change in how they play the game, in particular leaning towards more power in the lineup rather than small ball?
Well, yeah, I think you're definitely going to see change because you have Adam Arbor, who's been there but not the full-time hitting coach. Mm-hmm. And then you've got Breaux. Of course, everybody knows Breaux as a player, but, and she learned a lot of her skill work initially from Coach Habits and went on and developed even further. But I think you're going to see some change because they bring change. They have new ideas. They have different philosophies. I can tell you for certain, when I was there in the fall watching them play, the first thing I noticed on the offensive side of the ball was balls just hitting the gap continuously. I did not see a ton of foul balls, everything being pulled, gaps. And that is a clear indication that those hitters are doing something really, really good in their preparation. So I saw a lot of that. I don't know what the eventual power will be. Time will tell. I mean, it was fall ball. I saw a lot of doubles. And so, when I look at a team, when we start talking about teams, when we're prepping for TV, do they have power? The first thing I look at is doubles and home runs, not just home runs. Because doubles will tell you a lot, too, of where they're driving the ball. And I saw a lot of that from this Alabama team. It was really impressive. And they've always been so good at just taking walks, getting on base. So if they're hitting gaps with those kids on base, you're going to see a huge upswing in the runs scored for this team.
Wow. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And Kayla Braud, leaving the TV booth, where she did a lot of softball for the SEC Network. She worked on Mariners broadcast up there in Seattle, and joining this staff. Her impact, even though she's new to coaching, legendary player here, great communicator. Your thought process on Kayla Braud leaving broadcasting to join Patrick Murphy's staff?
Well, my opinion on this is that she brings a bit of an old school culture, Bama mentality. And I think that's critically important that they have that ingredient, especially with some unknowns in the circles and things like that. You want to have that mentality, that attitude. And I love that. I think, too, who's going to love it more coaching at Alabama than Kayla Braud, right? Like former players. Who doesn't love going back to their university and being a part of it? And Gary, she's so smart. She sees the game. She sees things within the game, not just as an outfielder. She sees the game now from so many different viewpoints and has been around so many good people. I worked games. I was sitting in the booth with her. She has a great mind for the game. And I think, what a great fit for Alabama. How do you replace it? How do you replace Nick Saban? How do you replace Allison Abbott, the staple of a program?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll go hire a Bro or a DeBoer, and you couldn't get any better. You can't find better than what they have bought into that university. And I absolutely thrilled for Bro. I'm super excited for her, and super sad that we will not have her with us on the other side of it, because it was just a joy to work with her.
Also, you already alluded to it, the battery with Fouts and Allie Shipman is gone, and of course Shipman was a great player, but Montana Fouts was an icon, and for the first time now in years, she won't be in the circle. That's an adjustment for the team, obviously, but it's also an adjustment, I think, for the fan base. I mean, she was the darling of not just softball at Alabama, but softball in the country, and she won't be a part of it this year. So that's different in your reaction to just having Alabama softball for the first time in several years without Montana Fouts on the team.
Yeah, I thought about that, over the winter as I'm preparing. I start, working on stuff in November. And, it's funny how I'm a big believer that life takes you where you have to be in those moments. And I thought, how frustrated we all were as people who loved the program, people who watched the program, when she got hurt. We're like, why, right? Why did that have to happen to her? Her last season, just having an unreal lights out season. But you know what? We as fans and them as a program went to that spot because Jayla Torrance found her confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that it was so invaluable. So as hard as it is, I remember how we all felt when Jackie Trainer graduated, right? We're like, oh, man, we don't have the J Train, right? We don't have Charlotte Morgan. We don't have Kelly Kretschmann anymore. But programs like Alabama, they just keep finding those nuggets. And I think it may not be the one star this year, but I think you're going to see a really good pitching staff with a really good pitching coach. And almost in a sense that if they can, as I quote Coach Murphy, if they find the mudita within the group and find where can I help this team the most and really buy into that, I think they'll have a lot of success.
Well, Karen, it's going to be fun. It starts next Thursday for Alabama over in Atlanta. Just a huge season, and of course, this is. We talk about Oklahoma next year. Oklahoma and Texas will be in the Southeastern Conference. So, but for now, still an unbelievable league, and I know we're looking forward to it, and we'll be having you on regularly. Thank you so much.
Better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A nice warm-up today with a sunny sky. The high at 60. Mostly clear tonight, the low 38. Then very pleasant weather tomorrow and Saturday. The sky partly to mostly sunny both days. Highs in the mid to upper 60s between 65 and 68. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 47 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
A national championship team covering a national championship team. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:26 here on the Gary Harris Show. And boy, it has flown by this morning. We have been going nonstop. Justin's in there saying, let me catch my breath. But we will, in this segment, kind of slow down for just a moment before we get to Jeff Spiegel. Then in the final segment, we're going to hear from Kalen DeBoer down at the Senior Bowl. And so busy time. We're going to try to get some recruiting chat in next week as we get ready for the second signing period. I mean, it's one of those times basketball's in full bore, as we talked about it, earlier in the show. Bama with a big road win last night at Georgia. LSU on Saturday night inside Coleman Coliseum. I'm sorry, Mississippi State. LSU was last week. Mississippi State comes in here. Alabama's already beaten them over in Starkville, so they'll try to go for the sweep. And then next Wednesday night, a huge one down at Neville Arena in the Jungle. Alabama taking on Auburn. Alabama has already played Auburn once and won here at Coleman Coliseum. That's what's weird about the schedule, man. You play these teams used to, there'd be more of a gap. Now you play one and it seems like you turn around and you play them again a week or 10 days later or so. A lot in this conference. So it's just a busy time for sports, and we're glad to be a part of it here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Also, listen, the no joining fee is over for the YMCA for the month of January. All through January, no joining fee. All you had to do was sign up and get your membership going. But still, the YMCA is there. It's ready for you. I love working out there. Love the facility. Love the people. Love all that they have to offer. Great location there at 2300 13th Street. Plenty of parking. So get by and see them at the YMCA. They'll give you a tour. They'll tell you what it's all about and find you a membership. And remember, they do have the Silver Sneakers program too. So if you're a senior and you want to get back in the gym, Silver Sneakers gives you an opportunity to do so at a really good membership rate at the
YMCA at Birmingham Racecourse Casino, where you can be a winner too. Birmingham Racecourse Casino off I-459, exit 31 Derby Parkway. Must be 21 or older.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure
That's simple human sense.
So contact Pritchett Moore Insurance today and let our professionals find the right insurance solution for you. Visit pm-insurance.com or stop by the Tuscaloosa office today.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Seven women on my mind. Four that wanna own me, two that wanna stone me, one so she's a friend of mine.
30, welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. It's that time on Thursday when we visit with Jeff Spiegel, longtime sports anchor, ABC 3340, host of The Zone, and Eagles always bring us in to Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. What's going on, buddy?
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing great. Yesterday, Alabama and Auburn Day at the Senior Bowl with Kalen DeBoer making his debut as the Crimson Tide head coach, and Hugh Freeze in his second season at Auburn. You had Johnny Congdon and Chris McCulley down there on site. It was quite a day. They were busy, but again, Hugh Freeze, man, is the Auburn head coach, but it is what it is. When the Alabama head coach shows up, it's everybody plays second fiddle, particularly Kalen DeBoer in his first time down there. It was quite a happening yesterday down in Mobile.
Yeah, it really was. I mean, earlier in the week I reached out to Josh Maxson and said, hey, when's Coach going to be down there? And he thought it was going to be yesterday. And of course, Josh said, there's not going to be any one-on-one, opportunities. It'll be a scrum. And I don't know how many scrums that Kalen DeBoer has been a part of, but he got a little taste, I guess, of what life is like as the Alabama football coach yesterday. Yeah,
a lot of mics, a lot of cameras, a lot of people trying to get in there. It was, but I tell you what, I thought he, the thing I keep going back to, Jeff, is, again, and, he hadn't coached a game, and we know how it is around here. He'll be very popular until that first L comes. But he just seems so comfortable being Kalen DeBoer in his own skin, down to earth, approachable. I mean, I've talked to some high school coaches that he's visited with, had one on the show, and, talked to some parents of recruits. They just say, man, with him, he puts you at ease right away. And I sense that even with reporters. We loved Coach Saban as far as what he was able to accomplish here, but it was always with media. You kind of knew your place, and when to approach him and when not to. Coach DeBoer's approachable. I mean, he's out, if somebody runs into him with a microphone and a camera, you can just walk up to him and say, hey, can we grab you? And that's different than what's been in the past.
Yeah, I think he is. I think you mentioned the word comfortable, and that's a very good word. He's comfortable in his own skin. I don't know exactly how long it takes a coach to be, confident in what he does and his systems and everything. But yesterday he mentioned it. Someone asked him about, his offense and how it would translate, to Alabama and the Southeastern Conference. And, he's very confident that, look, if I can throw it and catch it in Seattle, we can throw it and catch it in Tuscaloosa as well, because we've got talented guys, at Alabama. We've got Jalen Milroe. We've got Kobe Prentice. We've got Jalen Hale. We've got, we got guys that can run the football. I mean, there are enough players on this Alabama offense that can make his system work. And he believes in physicality, which is, that's SEC football right there, right? So, I mean, I think he's very confident and comfortable in who he is, what he can do, the staff he's assembled. I love the fact that he's kept Gillespie and Roach. And he mentioned yesterday that those guys were huge, even before he got hired, and kind of holding things together. And I think he's ready to go, man. I think he's chomping at the bit. I think he can't wait till spring practice and A-Day and what happens after that.
Yeah, April 13th for A-Day. And speaking of the staff, and you already did bring it up, Ryan Grubb, I know the Bama fans are pretty excited about him and having him as the offensive coordinator, knowing that Nick Saban tried to hire him last year before hiring Tommy Rees. And then speaking of Mobile and South Alabama, Kane Womack, who was doing a really good job as the head coach at South Alabama. I know a lot of the South Alabama people are really disappointed to see him go, even though they understand it's a great opportunity. Just seems like a home run hire to me as the defensive coordinator. In-state experience, has worked with DeBoer before when DeBoer was the offensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator in Indiana in 2019. And a guy who's aggressive, young, has head coaching experience, in-state, as I said, helps with recruiting, helps with contacts with high school coaches. What's your opinion of the Kane Womack hire as the defensive coordinator?
Well, I totally agree. And he went out and he got a couple of head coaches, and the thing about getting a couple of head coaches is that, and I'm, referring to Mo Linguist as well, is that, you got guys who are organized and they've run programs and they've got their stuff together, and they've been good position coaches. And in terms of Womack, this is a guy he worked with at Indiana. And this is a guy who he had to take his offensive system like every day at practice, and he had to go up against Kane's defensive system. So he knows how great this guy can coach, and he knows what defensive schemes, he can put into place. And, they clicked at Indiana, together, both as an OC and as a DC. And when you're a head coach, man, it's all about, surrounding people that you're comfortable with. You're more than happy to get advice from people as to who you should hire. And people have 1,000 different opinions as to who you should hire. But you know who you're comfortable with. And to me, that's one of his strengths. He mentioned that in his introductory press conference that, that's one of my strengths is organization, and organizing his staff. And he's shown that to be one of his strengths, and I think that's coming into play right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Mentioned Hugh Freeze being down at the Senior Bowl as well yesterday, and he did his media availability too, or provided media availability. And I thought it was interesting. We know all these coaches now. It's there's so much movement, and a lot of these coaches have worked together, or are friends, and we know the respect that Coach Freeze had for Nick Saban. But he was asked about if he knew Kalen DeBoer, and he said, "Oh yeah, we go way, way back to the NAIA days when I was I had a pretty good team at Lambeth, and he had a great team at Sioux Falls." And he said, in fact, Tom Allen is one of Coach Freeze's best friends. He said, I kind of recommended him to Tom Allen when Allen was the head coach at Indiana to hire DeBoer as the offensive coordinator. So they're going to be rivals on the field, obviously, competing against each other in this state, but. Yeah, it's good. I think that they're friends, and it seems like a friendship and a lot of respect there between the two head coaches.
Yeah, and it's very interesting to me, right, that Hugh Freeze takes partial credit for Kalen DeBoer's career. I mean, he's all about that, right? Talk about someone who's comfortable and confident in their own abilities and in their own skin. I mean, that's Hugh Freeze. No, I think it's going to be a great rivalry. The Alabama-Auburn rivalry is just going to, it's just going to go on strong as ever, with these two guys in place. I think certainly, Hugh didn't mention it yesterday, but, Hugh sees somewhat of an opening here to where maybe the door's kind of cracked open and he can walk through it. He put together a pretty good recruiting class in 2024. He's got another one cooking in 2025. He wants to keep stacking recruiting classes, but, just when Auburn is celebrating a victory that, Nick Saban's not there anymore, and then boom, here's Kalen DeBoer. He gets Ryan Williams, who maybe Auburn fans were counting on that maybe they could get away from Alabama, but nope. Ryan Williams, Crimson Tider. Strongly Crimson Tide. And Jalen Mbakwe takes a large amount of credit for that, and Ryan Williams gives him a large amount of credit for that. So, I don't think Alabama's ready to step down, off the SEC throne yet, but Hugh Freeze is confident that they're making some inroads and that they could get there one day.
Speaking of Williams and Mbakwe, and I don't think there's any doubt, you're right, Mbakwe played a big part on in Williams, recommitting to Alabama. They're close. Mr. Ryan Williams, though, won Mr. Football for the second straight year. And did the sports writers get it right? Because Mbakwe and Clay Chalkful beat Ryan Williams and Saraland 31-28 for the Class 6A state championship. Mbakwe played quarterback, even though he really didn't want to. He was dynamic in the kick return game and played some defense as well. They're both incredible, but did the sports writers get it right with Williams over Mbakwe? Because I saw a lot of chatter on the internet and on social media that maybe Mbakwe should have been Mr. Football. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, in my opinion, they couldn't get it wrong.
True.
By picking either one of those guys, because they were both terrific football players. They were both instrumental. Look, Clay Chalkful doesn't win the state title without Jalen Mbakwe. Ryan Williams or Saraland doesn't get to the championship game without Ryan Williams. They're just two incredible football players. And, what's exciting to me is that, these guys, where will these guys be in 3 years? These are guys that could just set records and do incredible things, at Alabama at their positions and then take it to the next level. There's so much upside with these two guys that, look, I don't know how close the vote was, but it had to have been razor thin. I don't think it was a runaway, Ryan Williams over Mbakwe. I think it was probably pretty neck and neck. But when you are we talked about this in the sports office. There's never been a repeat winner. And I was telling, McCulley, to me, it's a slam dunk, that Ryan Williams, because Ryan Williams didn't do anything to make you not choose him as a repeat winner. His numbers were down a little bit, but his numbers were so crazy great as the sophomore. Of course, they were going to go down a little bit. But I think the sports writers got it right. But I don't think they would have gotten it wrong had they chosen Mbakwe either.
Jeff, let's get to Alabama basketball. Down 17-2 last night in Athens with Nick Pringle sitting back in Tuscaloosa suspended. It didn't look good, but this Alabama team put up a 58 spot in the second half and gets a 85-76 road win over Georgia and stays in first place in the SEC.
Yeah, at halftime they were getting out rebounded 27-7.
Wow.
So, I think Nate kind of lit them up in the second half or at halftime. And man, they came out and they just kept chipping away and chipping away and chipping away. And then if you're Georgia and you start hanging on to the lead rather than being aggressive and playing the way that you were. And Alabama just kind of established authority. They started knocking down threes, and you know how great they are when they start hitting the threes. And they started defending. And then, Grant Nelson. Grant Nelson is becoming a really big-time clutch player. And I think he's really developing into the player that many people thought that he could be when he transferred here from North Dakota State. But he knocked down a couple of big threes, and, that's a big win for Alabama. I mean, it is really hard for ranked teams to win on the road now. I mean, this has been a crazy year in college basketball. Mm-hmm. And when you can get a road win, I mean, you feel like you're ahead of the game.
And both teams have games this weekend, of course, but next Wednesday night, the rematch between Alabama and Auburn at Neville Arena, the Jungle. It's going to be crazy down there next Wednesday night.
Yeah, and revenge is going to be on Auburn's mind, and Bruce Pearl's going to play it up like he always does. And look, at Neville, man, they're tough. I mean, they raised it. They raised it a couple of levels, and that is an incredible atmosphere. And Alabama's going to have their hands full for sure. But boy, I like the fact that they're building some momentum here, and it'd be great to get another win Saturday to take into Auburn and have a lot of confidence going into that showdown for sure.
Yeah, Alabama gets Mississippi State this weekend, a team they beat in Starkville, but a very capable team. So the Tide can't look ahead yet. But Saturday night, what do you think is going to happen with Nick Pringle? Because it sounded after the game that Nate Oates was pretty resolute. Hey, man, he's going to have to make a decision whether or not he wants to be part of the program. So I guess we'll find out something pretty quick, maybe as early as Saturday night if he's with the team, or because it sounds like it's at that point now where it's, Oates is kind of playing around. This is 2 suspensions. They need inside players. They don't have a lot of depth there or size, but it sounds like it's time for Pringle to get on the train or get off for good.
Yeah, I guess so. To me, it's kind of comparable to the John Petty situation. When Oates came on and he was kind of early on in his coaching career, and, Petty gave him some real headaches. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those similar things. And, Nate's willing to, cut you some breaks, as long as you're willing to, to get yourself back in line. And, Nick Pringle's got to make a decision, as you mentioned, am I in on this thing or out? Because, you can't be, suspending a guy every week. It's just, it's detrimental to the team, in more ways than one.
Indeed it is. Great stuff, Jeff, and be some great stuff coming up, of course, on your Nightly Sportscast, but on the Zone Sunday night.
Yeah, Sunday at 10:30 on ABC 3340. Gary, appreciate you. Have a great day, man.
Thanks, Jeff. 10:45 here on the Gary Harris Show. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to get to some of that Kalen DeBoer audio from yesterday down at the Senior Bowl. That's next, right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
On the next Inside the Locker Room with Coach Wimp Sanderson and Barry Sanderson.
Tune in Friday. We'll break down SEC basketball. We'll look at Alabama's lead in the conference. We'll break down the Mississippi State game on Saturday night at 7:30, which is a sellout. So congratulations to the Alabama fans. Let's create an unbelievable environment. We'll be with you tomorrow from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Tide 100.9.
They're designed to help protect against recent variants. Learn more about a COVID-19 vaccine option at schedulecovidvax.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A nice warm up today with a sunny sky. The high at 60. Mostly clear tonight, the low 38. Then very pleasant weather tomorrow and Saturday. The sky partly to mostly sunny both days. Highs in the mid to upper 60s between 65 and 68. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 47 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Roll Tide. The best sports talk, period. Your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:48. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show. We're winding it down, and been promising this the whole show, so we're going to try to deliver on it. Kalen DeBoer making his Senior Bowl debut as Alabama's head coach on Wednesday down in Mobile, and he met with reporters, and we've got some of that audio for you right now.
He's been leading the defense. He's going to do an amazing job.
How do you think former Alabama players are going to adapt to your new scheme?
The current ones?
Yes.
I think that our systems are going to be able to adjust to the personnel we have. And yes, there's staples, there's a foundation to everything we do. But, I think that we'll continue to learn who our guys are and what their strengths are and make sure we're always catering to it.
What is it like to see Michael here and just, your former players there at Washington here in the Senior Bowl and doing big things, obviously before their NFL career?
Yeah, I think when it comes to all the players you've coached, it's emotional to see them at this point and do what they love to do and get to this level. But especially since the last time I saw them, we were getting off a plane after the national championship game. I think it adds a little extra to it as well. And seeing Eddie and Roger is just an awesome thing, because this is their goal and their dreams that lie ahead of them as far as going on to the next level. So they're achieving it and excelling at the same time.
Coach, your culture's worked everywhere you've been. You come to Alabama, their culture was obviously working with Nick Saban. How do you kind of balance, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, but it's been working your way as well?
Yeah, I think that you still uphold the standards that are in place, and the expectations are certainly aligned with what I want to do and what's happened here in this program for a long time now under Coach Saban. But I think everyone understands that, there's only one Coach Saban, and there's different ways of doing it to be successful. We will, want to uphold those traditions and all those things that have made this place special. But, everyone will have their own fingerprints on it when it comes to what we do offensively, defensively, and obviously myself as the head coach.
Have you had a chance to come up for air? I know you play the national title game a week after you take the Alabama job. Have you had a chance to kind of rest for a few moments?
No, not at all. But that's okay. That means that there's a lot of people pulling me in a lot of different directions, and it's been fun getting to know our team. They're doing a great job on campus, really kind of steady now in their workouts, and out on the road, just meeting a lot of new faces and enjoying it. The Alabama logo means a lot down here in the Southeast, and so it's been really fun. Here these last 2 weeks being out and about.
You might have 2 first-round draft picks at wide receiver. What's your recruiting pitch to those guys in that position, at that field position, knowing how much you've developed into the highest level?
Yeah, when you put it that way with 2 potential first-round draft picks, I think it sells itself. But you really dive into how we got to that point. It's scheme and all that, but it's a lot of development, and that's going to happen not just at the wide receiver position, but across the board in our football team.
Could you get to see between Pac-12 football and SEC football? Any noticeable difference?
I think there is. This level of football here in the SEC has been at a high championship level for a long time. And I think every part of the country has their own style. Physicality is what wins championships. And, I think that's what that's what a lot of what we do is going to be based on. But, I think football is also football no matter where you go. And our stuff will also translate to wherever we've been. I've been in the Midwest and at other places in the country, and just making the jaunt from the West Coast to the Southeast. I think all the things we do will translate over.
How cool is it to see Michael Penix? He went through a lot before he got to you at Washington, to see everything work out so well for him.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Just kind of in 5 minutes, a snapshot of what he's gone through and what he's all worked for, and realizing that dream right now, and really in the best place he's ever been. When it comes to 2 to 3 years now of being healthy and just continuing to develop and grow. Just all he's been through has prepared him mentally for this type of scenario to where, the pressure is the pressure, but he knows and has the confidence that he is going to be just fine if he just does what he's capable each and every day.
Coach, in the offseason when it's hard for the coaching staff to spend as much time with the players, how beneficial could it be for Jalen Milroe to be around a Brailsford, be around a Bernard, where they can just talk player to player about the offense?
Yeah, from a staff standpoint, we're really looking forward to next week to being around our guys and spending a lot of time with the team, back on campus. But those that have come with us from Washington, there's certainly an understanding of, even the system, and what certain concepts are called and how we teach them. So hopefully back on campus, they're picking up on those things. Jalen with, Austin and as well as, having a center like Parker there knows all the calls, and we can hit the ground running here next week when it comes to installing offense and defensive systems.
What's the thought process bringing on Kane Wommack as the defensive coordinator?
Well, I just know he's really good. I saw him every single day in practice there in 2019 going against him, and I think he's just, continued to take those steps forward the year after I left. And, him being a head coach and especially understanding everything down here in Alabama, the state, I know he's a relationship guy. And so, he just brings a lot of energy and organizational skills that I know are going to be really important for our program. I think it says a lot about the University of Alabama to be able to pull someone like Kane and all the things that he had going for him with the success he's had at South Alabama.
What did you see from Austin Mack that made you want to bring him over here?
Well, I think his skill set and all the tools he brings as a quarterback, the arm talent, but I also just think he's got a really great head on his shoulders. He's young, and for him to do what he did this last year with us, he reclassified and really learned the offense as fast as anyone I've ever seen at that age. And so, he's got to just continue to grow, continue to develop. And I know he's all about those challenges. He sees them as opportunities, and it was exciting for him as well as us to have him come down here.
Coach, your team won the Joe Moore Award. Did your offensive line have a specific physicality and different shapes and sizes? In other words, were they 300-pounders, 350? Are you like them big? You like them quick? How do you like your offensive line?
Yeah, I think, we just worked with what we had. And obviously it was a strong group. Multiple, both our right tackle and left tackle are going to be high-end draft picks. And, Roger's here at the Senior Bowl and doing a great job. So talent, was in a great spot there. And now it's just a matter of, utilizing their strengths. And a lot of it revolved around, what your quarterback can do. And with Michael, we were able to protect him. And then I think as the season went along, each and every year, 22 and 23, we developed a run game as the year went along. And that was important for us to win a conference championship. And, the game, you always say you wear the pads for a reason, right? And it's meant to be a physical game. And so the heart and soul of what we do, we'll have to rely on that.
You've been in a couple of new places the last couple of years. With your experience the last handful of years, adjusting in the spring to a new place, how quick does it take for everybody to adapt to learn your system?
Yeah, I think first of all, from a coach's standpoint, you just jump all in. And, as far as getting to know the guys and the relationships, and I think that's what you ask of your players too, is to not try to wonder and second guess in any way. And if they embrace what we are going to bring to them, we can make these strides very quickly in the weeks and months ahead throughout spring ball.
Good stuff there from Kalen DeBoer. Glad we could bring you that. And he actually went on for a couple more minutes. I mean, he did a pretty long session down there, but time is of the essence here as we get ready to close out the show. And that's the majority of what he had to say yesterday in regards to a lot of good questions from the media, and wanted to get that on. All right, it's 10:57. That's going to wrap it up for the Gary Harris Show for today. This hour has been brought to you by Patterson Comer Attorneys at Law. And a reminder, tomorrow's the TGIF edition, so we always have fun on Fridays with the great music. Working to get Adam Amin on for Fox Sports, Brett Pritchard with the Auburn Report, and may talk some recruiting as Alabama goes into a big junior weekend coming up on campus as well. All right, so for Justin Jones, I'm Gary Harris. Thanks for listening. T-Town Sports Daily is coming up next at 11 a.m., followed by the Miller's Edge from noon until 2, and then Ryan Fowler will take you home with the game this afternoon, 2 until 6. I'll talk to you again in the morning on the Friday edition. Have a great day, everybody.